Hello everyone, it is Redmen Radio. It is the 100th Redmen podcast, Chris. This is our 100th episode spectacular.
What's going to make it spectacular?
This is going to make it spectacular. What the fuck? Hey! The plastic is literally crumbly. Oh, Tom's going to have a twat of a joke cleaning that up.
Poor guy. Just push it onto the floor for him.
Yeah, we'll leave that there. Well, I'll do him half a favour by not pushing it onto the floor. 100 podcasts, Chris.
100 podcasts.
And this is, because I thought, is this in this format? It's not, because if we recall, about a year ago, we asked regular subscribers to work out what we were up to by adding, because we were on SoundCloud for a bit, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
And to go back and work out exactly how many we'd done. So in the, and the reference I often use is Action Comics or Amazing Spider-Man, where they get to a big milestone, they ignore the fact that it's like the third run of it, and they bring back the historical numbering. So yeah, this is our 100th ever podcast. Well done.
Well done to you too, Paul.
Well done.
Well done to you for listening and watching.
If you've listened to all 100, wow. Get a life.
Get a life.
Get a life.
What are you listening to us for?
Right, it comes with a big announcement. I promised this for the Redmen TV subscribers. The big announcement is this is the final Redmen podcast in this format, like this. From next week, it's taking a whole new look, a whole new fresh vibe and edge. We've got double the table. Does that mean double the guests? I mean, the simple answer is yes. Yes, it does. Yeah, really exciting.
We've bought the extra table
and microphones.
Have we got 4 chairs that match?
Yeah.
Have I stumped you?
No,
we have got 4 chairs that match. Okay.
How do you not know that?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to them. I just sit on them.
Chris will sit anywhere and read anything. Be aware. Right, big announcement. Apart from that, is that Chris and I have launched our own YouTube channel as well. People say, well, haven't you already? Isn't it this? It is this, of course. But not only, but also, as they say, yeah, Matron Pajak has got its own channel. Obviously, I've got my own one. Chris now joins me into that solo world. And we'll talk a little bit about Liverpool, of course, but largely it's just other stuff. Life, the universe, and everything.
And everything, literally everything. No filter, unfiltered.
Completely
Matron and Pajak.
Yeah, exactly. So if you like us,
because you believe it or not, this is filtered in some way. We do have to not say things.
You have to be careful not to talk politics, like Brexit's a big load of bollocks on this YouTube channel, because people get dead cross in the comments. Well, you know what? Come over to our channel. We'll put the link in the description underneath. Go over there, subscribe, give it a kickstart. It starts with a brand new podcast, very much like this, but like, you know.
I want 1,000 subscribers before we put a video out.
Ooh, wow.
And I am willing to give stuff away to make that happen.
What are you going to give away?
I'm going to give away a Tokyo time cap.
Okay, cool. Get over, get subscribed right now, and click the notification bell as well, so you'll be first notified when our very first video on our brand new YouTube channel goes out. So yeah, we'll be doing, like I said, we'll do some Liverpool stuff, we'll do more general football stuff as well, and then some random weird life stuff as well. So yeah, if you like all that stuff, if you like us for whatever reason that might be, more of us over there.
It's my bottom. What? They like me because of my bottom. It's lovely.
Just to clarify, if that's not the reason, if that would be a reason why not, let me know, and I can see that that's not a major factor, just from the waist up.
Okay.
Shoot you from the waist up.
Oh, but you're denying them the good stuff. You've got to hold something back for the Matron Pajak paywall. I get it, Paul. I totally get it, mate. It's fine.
Coming 2020. Kick-off question this week then comes from Ben Wheatcroft, who's at Zippy Bungle, who's clearly,
I used to have I used to go to school with a Wheatcroft.
Okay, brilliant. I thought you were gonna go with. I used to watch Rainbow. You did. Go on. You used to go to school with a Wheatcroft. What?
That was it.
Okay, brilliant. Any Bens?
I did go to school with a Benjamin. We called him Ben. Interesting, isn't it?
Wow. Nobody's subscribing to this new channel, are they? If you could have a shirt made up of previous Liverpool shirts, like the City one they've released, what shirts would you use? Have you seen the kip of this Man City shirt?
It's a fucking joke.
It's
an absolute disgrace. It looked like someone vommed on a plane kit.
And now here's the thing.
But it also looks a bit like what Bailey came in wearing today.
It is straight up Bailey Shaw's street.
He liked it, yeah, he did. He loved it.
It's too much for you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Imagine what it's like for us then.
I can't mash up kits like... Yeah.
It's made you go there.
No, have you seen the state of... Have you seen... Like, Adidas have done this now. They've done this recently where they've mashed up that... Because you'll know, that 1990 Adidas design with the thing over the front of it, the West Germany, Liverpool tracky toffin time, etc., etc. Love that design to bits. They've done one that's that, but with green underneath it. So like they've mashed the home and away kit. It's horrendous. And that's just two kits. They've done it with an Argentina one. Horrendous. This is like, however many it is, 9 or 7 or what. It's just shit. It's PR shit. Anyway.
Do you know what it kind of reminded me of a little bit? Which is something that we did on Retro Footy TV, is Graham Souness's Vector Soccer.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it was kind of made of. Just some triangles and colours.
Yeah, lots of angles.
That's a game you need to check out, by the way.
That being said...
Oh, mate, I enjoyed this one.
Oh, you've drawn it out?
Oh, I enjoyed this one, mate.
Oh, wow. That is fantastic. I really wish I'd done that. Now I feel like I've missed that opportunity to fill some good time in my life.
Yeah, it took me a while. And there were different iterations. Like, for example, I started off with the 91-92 striped shorts, you can see there. But what I've decided is I went with the 76 to 79 plain shorts in the end. And I think you'll find, Mr. Machin, if you were to check your emails right now, I may have digitally mocked these up for the viewers. Not the listeners, sorry.
Your face
but
listeners.
The viewers, I have absolutely mocked these up.
Genuinely have as well.
So what I've done is I've used LFC history, LFC historical kits, and it's a very, very poor Photoshop job. But I've got them on the screen right now for Bailey, so he can actually show the viewers.
So hang on a second, you've done a home kit and an away kit?
Oh, mate, I've done a home kit and an away kit because this is football and this means more. This is Liverpool Football Club, Paul. And we're talking kits, and kits is your bag. But when I get to design my own kit, I am fully in on this.
Okay, so you know what? I had no idea what you'd done here, and I thought you just sent me 2 pictures from...
They look great, don't they?
Oh, wow.
Right, so home kit, Flecked 89-91, and that away kit is what I'm most proud of.
Home kit, the away kit is... That is sick.
Isn't it incredible? Right, let's talk the home kit first. We've got the 89-91 flecked sleeves. We've got the 85-86 stripe over the shoulder with the 85-86 main kit as well. We got the collar from the 87-88 kit. We got the plain red 76 to 79 short, and we got the 2008, believe it or not, to 2010 socks with the LFC. Yeah. I think you'll find that they match up quite well. They've both got the crown paints. On the away, we've got the 85-86 main shirt with the Adidas equipment. I think that's key here. I think I've got the shoulders, the collar of the 2018-19 kit, believe it or not, the dark grey collar. We've got the 89-91 flecked shoulders, and the stripes from those shoulders continue out over the top. We've got the grey 87-88 shorts, and we've got the white 2015-16 socks, and I think you'll agree that kit is absolutely marvellous.
That might be the greatest Liverpool away kit that's ever been created in the history of thing, and we all know Liverpool have good seasons when they have grey away kits as well. Just saying.
So there you go, Nike and your millions of pounds. One morning with me, LFC history, and a really, really poor attempt at Photoshop, and we've got the greatest away kit that Liverpool have ever fashioned.
I completely agree. I never thought about making it into a shirt that actually was nice. I just thought about all the elements of shirts that I love to make an absolute monstrosity like Nike have done with all of these mashup kits. Except that, like I say, the hypocrisy is that I mean, it's not something I would probably wear, really, because I like plain shirts, but also if there was a mad Adidas mashup shirt, so it would have to have for me the gold kit from 95, 96,
the Netto bag,
the Netto bag one. But what that like the 3 stripes are on the bottom of the shirt thing. So probably have like the gold sleeves or something from that. Have the big black stripes from the white and green away kit up the side. Yeah. Big Adidas equipment ones. The flex from like the 90 home kit and the 1990 away kit in there for shits and giggles, and then maybe something like best collar. You probably look. I think you've nailed it. It's something from like the 87 to 1990 era within that as well. I don't think there's anything modern that I throw in there for the sake of it. You know what? Just because it's going to be an absolute monstrosity, and I hate that kit. That horrible white with the blue bits in it.
Oh,
You know what?
no.
I know. Throw that in there just for the kids because they clearly love a bit of that, don't they? And then put something fluorescent in there, and Rob's your father's brother. You've got a thing that no one will ever wear, but will probably sell absolute bucket loads. Thank you very much. You've nailed that, Chris. You never cease to surprise me as a human being. I've known this man for, let's see, how old are we now?
25 years.
I was aware of him I've been aware of him for longer than this, but I've known you for nearly 20 years as a good friend for nearly 20 years, and there's rarely a dull moment.
It's fantastic,
Make your page our
isn't it?
YouTube channel. News then. Joe Gomez apparently back in training, Chris.
This is good things. This is very good things.
This is good things.
I like good things. Good things are good. And Joe Gomez being back in training is absolutely what we've needed. And not that he's going to get back into the side, because I don't think it's as simple as that. I think Joe Gomez is going to have to work to get back into the side. But if Joe Gomez gets a sniff of an opportunity and takes 20 minutes and is Joe Gomez, then Joel Matip gets thrown out the side.
Yeah, this is the situation you want to be in. Now, we're getting into that part, the crux of the season. We all know this, it doesn't need explaining, but we're going to talk about it in great length over the rest of the podcast. We'd lead into the run, a bit of the running, and obviously Tottenham Hotspur. This is when Liverpool historically tend to fall to bits. This is when our squad tends to absolutely collapse in on itself, and there's plenty of time for that. For anyone who lives the life on the mental edge with those things. This is the news you want. You want to be coming into the season strong as possible. You want to be hearing that your best players are available to you. And this is a thing. It's not. You can chart back where Liverpool have had the struggles, and you can say it's the absence of. You can say it's the absence of Joe Gomez. You could. I think it's more nuanced than that. There's loads more things to it in general, and overall fitness of the squad, etc., etc. But we were incredible with Joe Gomez as a partner for Virgil van Dijk at the back. We've now got ourselves into this wonderful, healthy situation where Joel Matip has gone up stories in everyone's estimation. I think we're looking at a world where third choice.
Yeah.
Everyone fit.
Genuinely.
I think he's gone above Lovren in the pecking order for his performances and in being fit and what have you. We've worked ourselves into a really good situation. This is absolutely ideal. We're bringing Joe Gomez back in. This is what you want with any good player. You know you're a good side and you know you're a good squad when one of your best players becomes available to you, and it's not a break down to your knees crying, hallelujah, my God, we needed him to come in and save us kind of moments. So the fact that Joe Gomez can just come in, get fit, get a few minutes in there, maybe get a game at right back here or there, get a game at centre back and get his feet back under the table before hopefully finishing the season as the centre back that he started the season.
But it's not just Joe, is it? You've got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back as well, and you've got Adam Lallana coming into a little bit of form, and Mane's playing an incredible thing. This isn't what's supposed to happen at the end of seasons. You said absolutely. It before. You're supposed to start derailing. Your wheels are supposed to start falling off if you're a car or whatever, a cart. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but the derailing thing was a train, and I needed to talk about cars. So I needed to get across my mixed metaphors. So I'm looking at it and going, this is what we want. Like, whether it's luck, whether it's clearly luck, it's not design. You don't design to get your players injured mid-season and come back for the end, but you play the hand that's dealt to you. And right now, Liverpool are looking like they're coming back in with a strong hand. We've been sat on the sidelines, we've been spinning our wheels a little bit, but we've still been getting those results. When we've got our first 11 available, we'll only improve, and that's the way that it needs to be, and that's the way that if we want to win this league, it has to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. And what's interesting as well, just from what we've seen, Naby Keita back in training as well, which is a good thing. He's another one of those players. We don't know what we're going to get out of Naby, but I'd rather be in a world where he's available to us. No news as yet. I certainly have not seen any on Jadon Shaqiri. Imagine his swollen pubis will require some treatment or whatever. We'll see.
That's tough.
Yeah,
Worst in childbirth.
No comment. Don't never hold that conversation. Nothing's worse than childbirth. Whether you think it or not, whether you think that's a true statement or not, it's one of those things that it's great that people have got opinions, but you keep them to your fucking self, right?
No.
Right.
No.
So what would you what things have you experienced that are more painful than childbirth?
Flick on the ear, proper one from behind.
On a cold day.
I had a twisted bollock for like a week and a half, and I can imagine that was up there with childbirth. Like, seriously, that was the most pain.
Tantric sex game?
No, it wasn't, unfortunately.
Maybe pick up on that next week. Moving on then. international stuff. Sadio Mane scored, great. Roberto Firmino, a couple of clips we've seen of him over the international break. There's that phenomenal touch, the assist that never was for Lucas Paqueta's attempt on goal. Ball gets floated in from the left-hand side, isn't it? And he plays this cushioned pass-through ball thing through to him, which is just... I mean, it's a jizz worthy moment.
Mate, it's his world and we're living in it. Yeah. That's kind of what it comes down to at this point. Yeah. Roberto Firmino is king of the fucking world. I mean, the goal he scored itself... It was opportunistic, to say the least.
That was like, the goal that he does score, if anyone's seen it will know. If you've not seen it, it's all over Twitter, so go and check it out. That is like if you had to do a visual representation, but a really simplistic representation of how Roberto Firmino plays the number 9 role, it's like, this is what he can do to you. He basically just chases you down and hunts you down and kills you. Except in this instance, the guy just kind of crumbles into dust and he slots the ball at the end of it.
He looked quite fast though as well, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more of that.
But Sadio Mane's one, I mean, there was the way I found it was like he was being likened to Pele.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong. It was no Maradona 86.
No, it was.
Say he took 2 players on and scuffed the ball, maybe left-footed. I'm not sure what type of cameras they were using over in Senegal or Mali, but they didn't look HD.
It was the kind of goal that everyone had, that at least one lad in the class at school who was. Probably you play for Liverpool schoolboys, or you played for, in these days you'd probably be in an academy or whatever, and you're just miles better than everyone, and you don't really play footy on the yard anymore, but every now and again you do, and it's just like they turn up and they're like a god descended from the heavens to come and play in amongst the muck and the filth, and they just waltz their way around, and they just do, it's like, oh yeah, great. They don't ever look like they're breaking the sweat.
It was the way that he turned that first man just using his body, like, and his strength and stuff. That's something that I've not seen Sadio Mane. I've not seen him do that turn before, like. So hopefully, but he is. You're right. It's that lad who clearly knows he's better than everybody else, full of confidence, cock out, just like really just giving it the beans.
Have you ever been?
The pitch was terrible, by the way.
Yeah,
like absolutely terrible.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it must be really hard to do that on that pitch.
Yeah,
just saying,
absolutely. Like. Have you ever been to like a kid's birthday party when you're like the oldest kid by a mile and you take on... and you're meant to be at a kid's birthday party, and have you ever played footy against like 10 or more little kids at one time? Yeah. And I described it, and I realised I'm paraphrasing an old Jack D sketch from back in the day, but it's like every old trick becomes new again, and it's like all the simple stuff, like, you know, you're playing the Premier League. Well, yeah, exactly. You're Sadio Mane, and you're having to do reverse inverted first touch spins to get through Bayern Munich, and then all of a sudden you go on an international duty and like dropping the shoulder works, you know what I mean? Giving them the eyes, you know what I mean? Just going, what? And then going the other way is all you need to get past the man. Yeah, he looks like he's living his best life at the minute, so Sadio. Something just a little bit more serious, not obviously directly Liverpool related, but I think there is an element that spins off of this. Obviously, we'll have all seen by now Raheem Sterling. I think he says himself he didn't hear racist abuse, but he was told about the things Danny Rose was told him that he received during the England game. So Sterling made a point of scoring, celebrating, and basically putting his ears kind of thing, and drawing the ire of the opposition fans. Brilliant, by the way. Absolutely fucking brilliant. And we've said it on this podcast before. All rivalry aside, like, as a man, I've only ever met Raheem Sterling once, and we only ever spent a couple of hours in his company. Thought he was a brilliant fella. Yeah. From my experience of it, so I've always like kept an eye on his. I mean, kept an eye on his career. He's one of the best players in the Premier League. It's hard not to follow his career. So I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for him because he was so sound with us. I just love the fact that he stepped up to this, and to paraphrase Gareth Southgate, you know, 2 middle-class white men talking about racism. It's not really our forte. But what we think we can agree is it's good, disgusting. It's got no place in society, let alone football. And seeing a lad who gets castigated and has been cast out and receives it from the most overt stuff, from people shouting and hailing abuse and death threats and all that kind of stuff, to the real subtle stuff that the media's doing, the way the Mail portrays him and stuff. I fucking love that Raheem Sterling has stepped up and just gone, nah, not having it.
The best thing about it for me is that he's using his platform to shine a light on it all. You know what I mean? And that's incredibly brave, because there are people out there who won't. And you know, and he's able to do that, and not only that, but just the way that he speaks really eloquently about it all, because it's obviously something he understands. And listen, I've got so much time and respect for John Barnes as a footballer and as a man. Yeah. Raheem Sterling feels to me like he's going to be the next John Barnes. He's going to pick up that torch and carry it on for the next 20 years and be a beacon of hope and light for people who are being abused who they shouldn't be. And, you know, that's fucking brilliant. And as you say, rivalries aside, listen, I didn't like what he did with Liverpool Football Club, but I understand why he did it. But as a person, my word, what an absolute hero. Like,
yeah, it's funny, isn't it, that you can talk about, like, moral character and what have you, and there's just different levels to life. And we make our life is football, our lives revolve around football. Most of us, if you're watching this, football's such a massive part of your life, and the rivalry culture and all that kind of stuff. It's all a big part of it, and but it should all be fun. I don't think you should ever take it too seriously. We jokingly talk about hate. I think that gets lost for some people. I think people don't understand that you can say hate, but you don't really mean it. I hate Manchester. I hate Manchester United. But I've got friends who are Mancs who support Man United, and I can get on and have a laugh with them. It doesn't. That's, you know, true hate is a very, 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 very ugly thing, and it shouldn't really exist truly in football. So yeah, Sterling, all the best. The slight aside from this that kind of leads into a story that affected Liverpool this week was I used the term when I say Liverpool fan. There was an absolute knobhead turned up to the Liverpool Legends game, the Liverpool versus Milan Glory, and racially abused a family there. He's gone to court. He's got 6 weeks in prison and a fine, and he's been given a 12-month 1 mile radius of Anfield ban
and
as
a
well.
Lifetime ban.
And by all accounts, Liverpool have said a lifetime stadium ban as well. People who are like this will never compute with me, and I always hate the excuse of, like, he said he had 7 or 8 pints or whatever. Fuck off, mate. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like the idea that, like, being a bit pissed absolves you of things is absolute fucking nonsense. But I'm once again so proud, so made up to see Liverpool taking a zero tolerance approach to this and being like, these people are not Liverpool fans. They might follow Liverpool and whatever. I'd just rather not have them as a fan. If you want to be a Liverpool fan, well, you're not welcome to be a Liverpool fan, because if you're going to be a disgusting human being, that doesn't mesh with what we want to be as a club, what we are as a city. So yeah, no, I like as well that the authorities have clamped down on that, because whether it was a heat of the moment thing or whatever, we talked about this when we discussed the Munich stuff last week about harsher punishments for people who break the law around football, stops people from doing stupid things inside football stadiums.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But, you know, I mentioned John Barnes before, and I'll mention it again here, because something he says when he speaks about this subject is that it's not actually the consequences of their actions that are going to stop racism. Mm-hmm. It's education. Yeah. And it's great that the club are doing this, because they have to and they want to ultimately, but really what's needed is re-education. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, you know, 7 or 8 pints he might not have said something when he had no pints in his system. Mm-hmm. And 7 or 8 pints might be the catalyst for him to say it, but the fact is he still thought it. Yeah. He'd think it whether he'd had no pints or 7 pints. Yeah. It's just whether you're going to vocalise that, and that's what we need to get to the bottom of. We need to scrub it out completely, and that is all done through education.
Exactly, you're dead right on the education thing. But the thing is, it's like Liverpool. It's not Liverpool's job to educate. It's society's job to educate in that regard. So Liverpool, for me, are taking the right hardline stance on it. They're saying it's not acceptable. Education needs to follow from wherever that needs to follow from. But like I like the message that sends, because look, Liverpool. Go back to the Luis Suarez thing. It's still the thing that always comes up whenever racism gets mentioned. And again, this is just fucking banter ammunition thing, which is the worst part about this. Is what it's boiled down to. Is there were people who felt uncomfortable, people of different race, religion, creed, all that kind of stuff, there were some people who felt uncomfortable coming to Anfield on the back of that, because whether Luis Suarez was a racist or not, and there were, look, I'm not gonna dive into it because there was plenty of evidence to suggest he might have, because he was kind of sort of proven that way, whatever. That's the perception, and that makes people feel uncomfortable coming to Anfield. Then all it takes is that if you don't take the hard line on that, well, that family's never coming back to Anfield, and they tell them it, and then it comes out, well, Liverpool are basically, it's like you're effectively allowing it if you're not banning it. So no, I'm very pleased that Liverpool have done what they've done.
We've said this a few times over the last couple of months. I'm proud of this club again, and the way that it's the way that the club is acting both on and off the field. It's something to be proud of. It's much closer to the values that I hold dear in my life, which is why it's so easy to just fall in love all over again with the club, because they are moving in the right direction on the pitch and off the pitch.
Tolerance, positivity, atmosphere of support. That's what typifies Liverpool and Liverpool fan base. And it gets lost sometimes. I think there's a people who, I'm not saying everyone who's from Liverpool necessarily has that, but I think that their core values that I think resonates amongst Scousers as a whole. And I think there's some people who bring outside influences to that. There's people who look to embrace the Scouse culture because it's at the heart of what Liverpool Football Club is. But I think there's people who come with outside things, and I think they carry, people can carry negativity into it in some regard. All that being said, let's talk about Jordan Henderson. While we're talking about people who get unilateral love and support from a Liverpool fan base because there's a man who's never done anything but give us his 100% utmost to make Liverpool as good as it can be. Something you drew to my attention during the international break, Chris. You got a great write-up in the was it the
Independent?
I won't say Independent, but it was fantastic. It was someone poetically extolling the virtues of a 15-minute Jordan Henderson midfield role where he wasn't shackled by being the number 6, which I thought was great because
it was a brilliant piece,
and because I love that. And we, to be fair, it was a nice reminder, and it's a reminder from the World Cup, to be fair, because Jordan Henderson won the country over during the World Cup. I think when you're placed alongside Eric Dyer in the midfield, you're going to look very dynamic, aren't you, if you're Jordan Henderson in particular. But I thought it was great. And I think sometimes we do this a lot as fans. We kind of put the blinkers on, and we don't contextualise properly our own footballers in the world. So I love seeing people who don't necessarily watch Jordan Henderson, or will maybe carry see the stigma that maybe gets spread through a lot of online nonsense. To be honest, I like it when people go in, watch him, judge him, and go, yeah, good player, because that's the nature of what we've got. That's his 50th cap for England. It's 50 international caps. You can choose to denigrate England all you want. Won't get away from the fact that 50 caps for your country, almost any international countries is pretty good.
It is, and it's because he's a good player. You know what I mean? And he's willing to do what the managers want. Is it 3 managers he's now worked under at Liverpool? Or did Kenny sign him, actually?
It's Kenny signed him, yeah.
Yeah, so we've had Kenny, Rodgers and Klopp. So yeah, 3 managers have all wanted him in their side and stuff like that. So it's clear that he's a good player. We shouldn't forget that. Just because he's doing a job for the team doesn't mean that he can't do certain things. Now, there are parts of his game, and listen, people know that I'm a Jordan Henderson fan. There are parts of his game where I'd like him to believe in himself a little bit more. Because I think sometimes Fabinho has showcased, certainly this season, that you can be a little bit braver in possession. But that's not to say that he's not doing a good job. There are times when people go mental about this backwards fucking pass and stuff. I'd rather just pass the ball backwards and keep the ball in attack 3 times, that left again, right again, and go through Jordan Henderson, pick the right time to attack and score, then give the ball back because someone's played a 50-yard fucking Hollywood ball and we give the ball away. Yeah, that's not football. That's just fucking chancing. You know what I mean?
That, isn't it? Yeah. You know what? I'll give you an analogy for it, because I love an analogy. Is the difference between playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the studio and playing it as a computer game, whether you play it on a quiz machine in a pub or whatever. The pressure situation of, oh well, fuck it,
I'll just guess.
I'll just guess. I'm 50 grand. You're not guessing. You know what I mean? This is the role every major footballer plays. I'm not talking 50. We're talking millions. Every kick of a ball is worth millions of quid, because if you're the one who fucks it up and they go down to the end and score, and you lose that game, and then you get knocked out of a cup, or your season falls apart, blah 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 blah. Millions, and the hopes and dreams of millions rely on that. We've got no concept of it, so you can afford, when you're playing a computer game, you're watching football, you're playing Footy Manager, you're playing FIFA, Pro Evo, or whatever. You're playing the game yourself in the park or Sunday League. You'll try a pass because that's how you play. You've got it's a tacit thing that you have amongst yourselves. Just try and score loads of goals. Back and forth, whatever.
You're exactly right. We play five-a-side. We're playing five-a-side tonight, or whatever. We might finish the game, and we might have a conversation about it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I scored 2 goals, and I set you up for one, and you'll be like, yeah, I scored 3 in that. Do we ever talk about the bad things that we do unless you get megged? You're literally never talking about it, right? You never
talk about the horrendous, genuinely horrendous mistakes, but the amount of casual miscontrols, misplaced passes.
I scored 2 goals. I touched the ball 107 times, and they're the only 2 good memories I have from things that happened. Yet we're not. The eyes of millions are on us going, you played the ball backwards there. What? Hang on a minute. I kept the ball the other time. It just bounced off me and went somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely the things you got to cling to, and that's the thing about it, is that you're right. And look, I keep coming down to it. I hate the fact. I'm going to caveat this. Hopefully, I'll get to a point where I never have to caveat this again. I don't think Jordan Henderson's world class. It should go without saying. He's not the best player in our team. I think Fabinho's absolutely phenomenal. I think we'll see a world where if we're going to play a lone 6, he's got absolutely all the tools that we need in a different way. But really good football. Look at how everyone's got remembered how good Adam Lallana is from 2 decent performances. Look how people love James Milner because he's just tireless and he puts in a great shift, and he's actually got a bit of quality in addition to all that. I long for the day when we can just treat Jordan Henderson like that.
But it's so true because, like, you know, Milner can have a really good game and hits, let's say, 6 bad corners, and everyone's just saying he's just had a good game. Yeah. Whereas Henderson doesn't even hit bad balls, doesn't lose the ball, but we're judging him completely differently for some reason. Like, it's absolutely mental. And just going back onto the 5-a-side thing for later, those 2 goals that I'm going to score tonight, you have to say after the game, Chris, but you spent 5 minutes trying to suck air in through your mouth because you were dying on the floor.
Jordan Henderson doesn't get to go and goal for a breather for a bit and then not save the ball, and get away with not diving because you've got just so you can suck a bit of fucking air into your fucking.
Jordan Henderson's not calling time on 90 and walking off the pitch because he's goose like me.
Exactly, like no extra time because
lads, I'm watching the clock on 59. Go, come on, game over, lads. We're out of here.
Because the next lads have got at the hour. The next lads are calling the time, lads. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's bullshit, isn't it? I love it. The point is, and we're going to talk about this. What I want to talk about is time to enjoy the lads we've got and the running and whatever, which we'll talk about in a second. Because we should. Let's try our best. Look, we're out of the doldrums here. Our seasonal affective disorder should have faded nicely because we're starting to get a little bit of sunshine. Lighter nights are coming in and all that stuff, and the Reds are on for the double. So let's get excited and talk about that. But in a second, we've got more news, including the we didn't actually. I'm not how to do this. The Moreno to Barcelona links. The Reds News Roundup show is on the redmentv.com. Steve Hawes.
He said what?
Yeah, I know.
Moreno to Barcelona.
Yeah, he's just an upgrade on Jordi Alba, isn't he? No. There was a time.
It gives hope to us all. Listen, Real, I'm available if you want me in the summer.
Yeah. What position?
Left back.
In the changes.
Hey.
So there's that. Steve's going to talk about that and a whole host of other things as well. So if you want a real in-depth fix of Liverpool news, get over to the redmentv.com, watch that show. Before we crack on, talk about how amazing things are and how we're going to have a boss time between now and May. This week's sponsor, Chris.
It's Tokyo time
again.
And once again, you can get 20% off. The caps are absolutely belted. The hair underneath is not the shape of my head. It is not.
That's why it helps with the caps belter.
Well, that's it. Like, look at that little sumo man there. Isn't he gorgeous? The patches are incredible, actually. The stitching on them is something else. Like, they're helping to support us. And if you're in a position you like the caps and you can support them, then please do go over and support them. There's 20% discount for Redmen TV subscribers as well. You don't even have to be a subscriber. You could just be watching this video, but you should be a subscriber. It will enrich your life. That code is Redmen20. You can put that in on checkout for 20% off. It's Tokyo, bit.ly/Tokyo @TokyoTime_Redmen TV, and I am going to showcase you some of their fantastic caps right now. So we've got the Rising Sun cap here. We've got Mr. Sumo himself. We've got the Sumo camouflage. We've got that blue and pink one that we mentioned the other week. Let me show you one of my personal favourites, that triple black cap or whatever it is.
The one that you were desperate for everyone to vote for the other week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they never did.
That's absolutely gorgeous. That green one is really, really fit as well. The Tokyo Time Heritage Cap, green, white, black. You can see that one there. That's absolutely gorgeous. And then they're actually a sponsor from the British Basketball League as well. I love that one. That's only 15 quid. I hope you get your 20% off with that one. That's really nice as well. So yeah, Paul, who's in charge of the company, it's a Northwest, it's Wirral-based, Liverpool-based company. He's such a nice guy, and he's doing such a good job for us. And we've actually got a competition running next week as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that, because we're getting some proper Redmen TV hats made up from Tokyo Time. So yeah, honestly, keep your eyes peeled. But these designs are belts, and you should absolutely get involved.
Yeah, brilliant. And I just as alluded to earlier, you know what? Why? I mean, I don't get, as a man with great hair, I don't get this as much. That's terrible, at it, but. You know, when you see someone and you're like, "What? You look dead cool," and then they take the hat off and you realise how either horrendously bald or whatever. Nothing wrong with being bald, by the way, but you know, people look cool. Some people just look cool in headgear. I'll give you a great example of that. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan just looked like a peak physical condition human being until the bandana came off. So you know what? You de-age yourself. You make yourself look cooler. You make yourself look better. And this is more of a general you. I'm looking at you. I'm not saying it's not relevant to you, but you get what I'm saying. You know, and I think it suits you.
You mean I can cover up the bald and stuff over here with the cap?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, works a treat.
And it's breathable as well, so it's not gonna exacerbate the problem any.
And you're not gonna have to spend £8 on men's hair or grey hair or whatever it's called every week.
Men's hair.
I don't know. It's some kind of dye.
The stuff that Cheng Tosin uses to spray on his head. We're told. Brilliant, yes. bit.ly/Tokyo Time_Redmen TV. The link will be in the descriptions underneath, etc. So check out our Twitter as well.
And you can click that little eye in the corner if you want as well.
Ooh. Okay, let's talk about it then, Chris. The title I got for this bit is just time to enjoy the lads we've got. This is it for me. I feel refreshed. A nice little break from footy. Obviously, we'll talk about Spurs. We'll lead into the Tottenham chat, of course, but we're in sight. The finish line is right there. We're looking down this stretch. It's there. Yes, there's hurdles between now and there. Yes, we might stumble. Yes, we might not be the first one to get there. But my God, this is what we should be for right here, right now. Let's put up park all this talk of whether we need the title or all this bullshit around the way bottling and all that. Liverpool are in the race. We are in the hunt. We are in the running for this stage of the season. This is exactly the conversation. We're in the bracket of where Liverpool Football Club should be.
Absolutely. And listen, as a fan, it doesn't get any better than this. I think it's key that this international break happens at this time of year because, without it, I might literally have no hair. I'd be pulling it out at the moment. So I've needed these couple of weeks to just get myself ready, and the team look like they've enjoyed themselves on the break. You've seen players over in Dubai, you've seen Salah on beaches, right? And you'll never walk alone and all that type of stuff. So they look like they're fresh and they're going to be coming back ready for the battle because this is 7 huge games in the Premier League, potentially another 5 in the Champions League, and it's a month and a half. This is it now. This is why they play football. This is why we support our team. We want to be winning titles and trophies at the end of the season. And there's no more exciting time to be a football fan than going into every single game. And we take the piss out of this every week on the build-up show saying, biggest game of the season. Fuck me, this is the best season for that because it has literally been the biggest game of the season every single week. It doesn't matter who you're playing, the points get harder to come by, and yet we're still here. They can't get rid of us, and our team's coming back into fitness. Absolutely superb. We're just going to get better between now and the end of the season. I truly believe that.
The thing I think is really important about this, this is the perfect time. This little break was the perfect time, I think, to take a little bit of stock, and you can look back and you look at who the heroes and the ups and downs of this season have been. You know, like we've gone through patches where starts the season, Mo Salah's absolutely the main man. He's come in firing on all cylinders again. Look, he's been in a bit of a, let's use the word for the sake of it, a bit of a drought of goal scoring, but I think his form's largely been okay in that period. In In the meantime, Sadio Mane has absolutely exploded onto another level. Roberto Firmino's been ticking along nicely. I think we're starting to see a bit better from him as well, particularly now that we've gone back to 4-3-3. We've got Fabinho fully settled in. We've got the ability to rotate the midfield. Adam Lallana's coming completely out the cold, and now we're looking at, I think a lot of us would be like, he's probably in our first choice midfield. All of a sudden, Gini Wijnaldum's having a revelation. There's lots of ups and downs and individual stories in this thing, and I think the example stories of Adam Lallana, Divock Origi, and we forget about him, but Daniel Sturridge should give us so much encouragement between now and the end of the season. And I think we need to buy into this holistic. Get behind every single lad who pulls that shirt on. Because if you're the only people who've got the ability to win anything for Liverpool this season are the lads who are currently registered in Liverpool's squads. The lads who Jurgen Klopp is going to pull on those shirts. It might come from an unlikely source, is what I'm kind of driving at. So any notions you have of not liking players or whatever, tell you what,
Park them.
Yeah, park them. You pick them, but listen, by all means, if we get knocked out of the competition, you can do it a bit. Champions League, you can do it a bit earlier. But if we get all the way, June, 2nd of June, by all means, feel free to pick them up at the door as you're leaving the season. But you know what? Park them for now. Put them in the locker. Put them on lockdown. Forget about them for a bit, because they've let Daniel Sturridge started the game against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League at Anfield. We were panicking because Roberto Firmino obviously had his eye poked out against Spurs. And Danny Sturridge comes in, has a great game, scores. He then comes off the bench against Chelsea in the league, scores a goal and wins a point for us there. Divock Origi was sat in the room with Bailey Shaw, who's got Divock tattooed on his thigh because of this. And who would have thought we'd have been saying that even, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whatever. And now we're in obviously a situation with Adam Lallana. I mean, for a start, look, if you like making a rub for your back, by all means, feel free to be a bell and keep slagging people off. But Chris, title races and title stories are filled with these little subplots that go within
and
it.
They have to be, because, it's a team sport first and foremost, and it's a 9-month-old slog of a team sport and a season and stuff. And you're looking at it and you start thinking, well, it's essentially a relay race for us right now, and there's a baton been passed around, and Mo Salah's had the baton at points this season, and Virgil van Dijk's pretty much not let go of the baton. He's just running around with everybody else who's ever going to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you've had James Milner, Wijnaldum, Fabinho's come in from the cold. Sadio Mane's holding it above his head now, sprinting down the final 100 metres, trying to get to that finish line. That's what it is. That's why you have so many people in your squad. We've got to embrace that. We've got to use that. We've got to support that process, because we've seen and we've been told for so long now that you need a squad to win the Premier League. We've been getting told that since the late 90s, maybe the mid 90s, something like that. You can't win it with just 11 players anymore. And yet, as a person, and I'm not talking for a fan base or anything, I'm talking for me, still that doesn't compute at times. But it is, and
it's always about best 11 and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? Yeah, it's always in our mentality.
And yet we've been getting told this for 20 years, and it's only now that we're actually in a proper title challenge that you can look around, take a little bit of stock and go, of course. Because we wouldn't be here without Divock Origi scoring a 90th minute winner. That December doesn't happen without that. Shaqiri coming in and getting 2 goals against Manchester United. All of these things feed into the next thing, and that's what we're here for at the moment. And who's going to pick up that baton next? When Sadio Mane stumbles, who's going to be there to grab it off him and take the team forwards? And who's going to be there behind them? Well, us as fans and Jurgen Klopp as the manager.
Alberto Moreno.
No, he's running to Barcelona.
That's the thing. It's easy to sit here a few days out from the Spurs game and what have you, full of optimism and all that. I'll get nervous as that approach, but that's perfectly natural. It's worth it. It's an expression you've used on stuff for a number of years. It's like the feeling alive, knowing you're alive. When you get emotional, you get something emotional out of something. That's what life is. If you're dead inside and these things don't matter, there's a degree of football fandom that is a bit conscripted. It's a bit like you do it because you have to do it, and you know that. But we're through that part. We're through that part of the season. We're actually through that era of Liverpool, to be perfectly honest. And as much as we can hark back to the disappointments we've experienced, and I said it. It stood in my seat in Kiev last year. Liverpool need to get out the habit of breaking me heart. Absolutely, you know, we need to get over the hump and over the line. But there is that, you know, I think you mentioned as well, there's an entitlement thing. Liverpool, we just need to continue to be in these conversations, and we need to remember that we're not so far removed from being in none of these conversations. Never. Our season, too many times in the last 15 years, more than really, has been over by January. You know, you're out of the cups by, you've either not qualified for Europe, and you're out of the FA Cup and the League Cup come January, and you're 7th in the league, and your only goal is to maybe squeak into 4th place. Well, fuck that. I'd rather die on my feet than keep living on my knees. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You know, at Liverpool, who are in this hunt, this is relish it. We'll look back on it, regardless of how stressful this is. Know that, you know, if we get the results that we're hoping for at the end of the season, we're going to look back on this season. We're going to forget how stressful this season was. And we're going to tell our grandkids how amazing it was and how brilliant this Liverpool side was.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to forget how stressful this season was, but I am going to be referring to it, whether we win the league or not, as the springboard for this period of success.
Yeah. But it's one of those. But it's all those things. Thing is, you never remember. Nostalgia is you know, and memories is just you always forget the hard parts of it.
Not me.
No. But to go back to your childbirth thing, it's a reason why people have more children, because women don't remember just how painful. That's what happens.
Yeah.
They forget. They forget
blinding pain.
Yeah, they forget. They genuinely forget that it's the most horrendous experience of their lives. That's why childbirth's harder for men than it is for women. By the way, just to bring this whole honestness back up again, because I remember every horrendous little thing. No, we will. We won't remember. We won't. You know, we might remember that it was stressful, but we won't remember how horrendous this has been on a week in, week out basis. It'll just be what it'll be. So yeah, plenty of things to be optimistic about. And as I say, it doesn't mean that we've got to sit there with a fake smile plastered on, everything's fucking great. It's not. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be fucking horrible. But are you up for it?
Absolutely.
I'm up for it. Bailey, you up for it? What? If you're not up for it, go home. Fuck off.
What if they're at home?
And put the quilt over your head and just sleep till fucking June, and then let us tell you all about it after the fact. And you know what? You'll be dead sad that you missed out. Fear of missing out is a big thing these days, I think.
It is.
And you know, that's all it'll be. Just gotta fucking suck it up and embrace it, and know that it is hard. It is ludicrously hard.
But this will be the norm next year. Yeah. We'll have gone through this, because that's the thing. You do something for the first time as a fan. You do something for the first time. The next time it just becomes easier. And this Liverpool, it will be easier next year, because we'll be used to it. We're ready for it, and you know what? We'll be defending our title.
We did a fantastic show over at redmentv.com last week called The Running Special. Me, Steve and Ross it was actually well over an hour in the end. We looked at Liverpool's remaining fixtures, Man City's remaining fixtures, factored in Champions League, factored in travel, factored in the opponents that we were going to be facing along the way, and looked into how the rest of the season is going to break down and what that means for our chances domestically and in Europe as well, and where the potential pitfalls are for both us and for Manchester City. I felt a million times better of it. We had loads of great feedback on it from our subscribers. If you've watched it or listened to it, let us know in the comments so people can hear about it. But do get on that. If you're not really sure and you need a little bit of a cuddle through it, we've got you covered. This is what we do. We don't get to do it very often. We've been doing this fucking show for like 10 years, and this is only the second title challenge we've had in that period. So, you know, we need help. We need to get through. We talk ourselves through it, and we'll talk you through it as well. So get over to redmentv.com. The Running Special in particular is a belter, but all the content we're doing at the moment, we will help you. We'll get you through it, guys. We're in this together. We've got a boss little community going on there. So yeah, come and join us in that regard. Chris, Tottenham Hotspur. I've rallied myself for this. I was prepared for a bit of like, oh my God, this is really hard game to come back to, but now I'm feeling pumped. I'm, in some regards, and bear with me on this because this is absolute nonsense, but to try and take my meaning on this, I would actually much rather play Spurs now than Fulham, because Spurs is a game that you can get up for, you can get pumped for, big atmosphere, no excuses, Anfield, all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a big game of football, I trust Liverpool in big games when we've got Anfield behind us. We should just be dead excited about the fact that Spurs are coming up against us at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the form that they've been in as well hasn't been great. I'm not saying Liverpool are guaranteed to win the 3 points, because I don't think that's the case, of course.
No one can say that.
But they've lost the last 3 away games. You know what I mean? And you can look at it both sides there, can't you? You can look at it, they're struggling away from home, or they're going to bounce back at some point. But I tend to go with the previous form is the best indicator of what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case. It's obvious, isn't it? It's why we look at the last 6 form. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't put it there so you can ignore it and think that they're going to change. Yeah. It's there because it's indicative of how their form has been. They've lost 3 of the last 5 games of football. They've lost to like Southampton. They drew with Arsenal in there. I think they lost to Chelsea as well. Yeah. So they're Burnley as well. So they're not in great form. And this Liverpool side, there was that 4-1 result last season at their place. Was it 2-2 we drew with them at Anfield last season? It was
the late penalty when the greatest goal scored in the history of the Premier League by Mohamed Salah was completely consigned to the bin of history, because no one remembers it because they got a fucking dodgy penalty decision.
Exactly, so we deserve that. I think Klopp's, generally speaking, had the better of Pochettino when the two managers have come together, and I believe that Liverpool will get the best out of it, because Liverpool are fighting for something more than just 4th place.
I think we've done a really good job in recent weeks, to varying degrees, but I think the atmosphere has been much improved across the board. I think it goes back to Bournemouth, was it, when we made a line was drawn in the stands, Brian Kopp made a big stand and said, right, come on, we've got a title to win, let's everyone get involved. Even though it's not been phenomenal, we're not talking City Champions League, kind of Roma kind of atmospheres. They've been better. There's been an uptick in them, certainly. That's why I'm glad that it's a big team here. I think this is a great way to light a fire under the rest of the campaign, to give us.
We say it after every international break, don't we? We say you got to set the tempo for the next 8 to 10 games here, and Spurs is a brilliant one for us in that regard. In the same way that coming out the international break, and was it November or something? That game before the Everton game, I forget which team it was. Set the tempo for that one, and that's what we've got to look at these as. And all these players will know that Spurs is coming up next, and they'll be relishing that, because that's what they're in it for. Yeah. They want to be able to beat good teams and good players and play the best players and just smash them everywhere. That's what they're in it for. They'll get up for that with no problem whatsoever. Yeah. And that confidence we should be able to take from a victory against Spurs into the next game against Southampton and into Porto.
It's the thing for me is that the creating of an atmosphere thing. You just resetting the bar. We're coming in now. You can draw a nice line and go, look, there's no more distractions now. Because there's no more, let's be honest, the Champions League last 16, and some people kind of took umbrage with this, and I want to mention it in the past, but it was a bit of a distraction. It was a welcome distraction, to be honest. And no one's ever really, it wasn't looking to downplay the importance of the European Cup, but the league is. There'll be people who disagree, but I think for most of us of a certain age, particularly, the league is all the thing I'm most interested in, not maybe all I'm interested in. That's shifted now that I can see how close the European Cup is, of course. But this is it now.
Route to the final.
Yeah, definitely. But this is it now. This is that block. This is the final big massive block of fixtures, of course. And you can say, yeah, let's get into Anfield. I just worry that if it had been like a Fulham, if we'd had Fulham at Anfield, or we'd had Huddersfield this week or whatever, we've got to really, it's a bit much, whereas it's just
what do you think
no excuses.
The Bournemouth game was different because it was, I think I remember coming out of that saying that's the best Saturday 3 o'clock against a non-top 6 side I've ever been to, actually. Now, you have to kind of force those Saturdays at 3 for whatever. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it's just because it's in the middle of your day and it completely scuppers your morning and your evening, and you can't get blotto. But Sunday at 4:30 is a completely different proposition. Yeah. Just because it's been moved to that, it's something you say. This is a big game anyway. Yeah. Then the fact that it's Spurs coming to town, the fact that we smashed them last time in their ground as well. They've got their eyes on the Champions League as well. It's very easy to get up for Spurs and add to that the level of import that we're placing on the Premier League this season. And my word, hopefully the atmosphere should just be up
I
there.
think it's one of them, isn't it? I think the problem with Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs is ultimately if you're playing at Saturday 3 o'clock, it's because you're playing in a game that's not big enough to be televised. So inevitably you end up against these teams that are traditionally teams that we feel that we should be beating, go back to that entitlement.
And we're better later in the day.
Yeah, true enough.
And that's one of the things that I'm sure you covered it on the running special. There's no early games no more. That's it. You got a 4:30, 2 8s, a 4:30 and 8, 4 o'clock 8, and then 2 3s to end the season.
Fridays in there as well. Like, I love Friday.
A little bit of pressure on Manchester City in those weekends as well.
Yeah,
because that's about the time when they start playing some big sides as well, isn't it?
And this is the thing. One thing we covered in that running was like, on paper, our fixtures are much more difficult than Man City's in the next 3. Real test for us, coming up in different ways. You know, you might see people might look at Southampton and go, "Oh, well, it's Southampton. We don't have an amazing record against Southampton. We don't have an amazing record at St Mary's, so it's a thing." You'd rather be playing. We've obviously got Cardiff and Huddersfield to come on the back of them. You'd much rather have the teams that are almost certainly going to get relegated. Of course, you would. It's a bit of a no-brainer. But if we get through this little spell with as many points as possible, and look, I see no sense in talking less than 9. It's not saying we guaranteed, as you said before, no guarantees of 9, of course. But if we can live in a world where Liverpool get 9 points out of that sets us up so nicely moving forward. And as I say, having lit that touch paper, we go to Anfield. It's just there's no thought required. That's why I like it. Is that doesn't need to be tons of pre-planning going into this on Sunday. You're right, it's an afternoon fixture, it's a big game, it's a big rival, it's a chance for us to show them, because we can always go on it.
A chance to go back top.
Well, there's this...
You'd probably guess.
Yeah.
You know, if Man City beat Fulham, we're vying for that first place in the league all of a sudden. So there's that level, that's a little wrinkle as well.
There's the thing about the Spurs stuff where I remember getting asked... Ball Street wants to do a video, I think it was like this time last year, about the rivalry between Liverpool and Spurs.
What rivalry?
Precisely. And it was because I think there's some, maybe there's some Liverpool fans who are thinking, I wonder whether there's people who live in London, maybe Liverpool fans who maybe have this because you just interact with people. I don't really know many Spurs fans. I know one, maybe two, a couple. I don't really have that relationship with them. I don't really think about Tottenham heavy, but there is a little bit of that thing of, if you've met up against Spurs, there was that post from Fighting Cock, wasn't there? Which is, I mean, Flav, you've done a collab with this week, which is very good. But they did this post about something about like the amount of times they've finished above Liverpool in recent seasons. They knew that. I never think about that. I don't think we finished below Spurs. I think we finished below Man United, Man City, whatever. Spurs don't factor into my thinking. But with that being said, there's a 16-point gap, I think, between us and them at the moment.
15, I think,
but that's how we feel it should be, because rightly or wrongly, and look, their new stadium looks great, and they've got a great team, they've got a great manager, they've got some fantastic players. They're a bloody good side, Tottenham Hotspur, and they deserve to be respected in that regard. There's nothing dislikable for me really about Tottenham in that regard, but Liverpool should, you know, and that's not. Yeah, look,
you don't need to put them. You don't need to do this. They should, and they are a bigger football club.
And this is what it is. It's a chance for all
of
us to show that. And
there's pretty much no chance of that ever changing.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, form temporary, class as permanent, as they say. But that's a little thing. Another thing that's underlying there is that, look, Liverpool, Spurs have fallen off the title race. Spurs should be in the contention because they've been built. They're a year or more on the cycle ahead of us.
This is. I was actually talking to Flav about this before, and I disagree with that. And what I was saying to Flav is, yous were 6-7 years ago, you were 2 years further ahead, and we were always seemed to be 2 years behind. Like we were on a path that you were ploughing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the stadium started to get built that we've managed to claw that back and overtake you, in my opinion. And he was like, yeah, that's kind of right, that, because all their money was getting siphoned off into this, and they were told that, you know, their transfers being ring-fenced and all this type of stuff. But the reality of the situation is there's a finite amount of capital you can put into a football club nowadays for most of us, with FFP and stuff. And, you know, Tottenham Hotspur are abiding by those rules, you would guess. And we've been able to use that time that they're focusing on this to be able to go and be a big club forever.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've done, is we've clawed ahead of them. And now they're looking at us going, shit, to improve, we need to spend £75 million on a defender. And we don't have that money anymore. So we're just not going to buy anyone.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the point remains is that they, outside factors are outside. The factors they've chosen to do that to build themselves up is that the life cycle of a team is that you don't go from being nearly, from being in the top 3 to being, if you slip out, if you're dropping in the league, if you're going backwards in terms of points, that's not what's meant to happen. That's Tottenham underperforming for whatever reason, whether it's underinvestment or poor management or blah, 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 blah. It comes back to it. They're a fucking good side, but it's up to Liverpool now. It's all for nothing if we can't go that step further and cement it, because there's a reason that gap exists. There's a reason Liverpool are taking a title challenge into the final furlong of a season, because we're really good. We are one of the 2 best teams in the country. If we want to continue to be that, then we need to go out there and we need to, set up against Tottenham, and we need to go and prove it, And look, Spurs will be able to prove the reverse is true. They'll be able to go, well,
we don't want to
well, if we had but if we had a bit more resources like Liverpool, we will be back up there. They're out to disprove all the things. They're out to prove that they are a really good side, because the vultures are circling a little bit around them, and the London thing adds so much pressure on that, because you just don't want to get embroiled and all that shit. I find it all very weird, but because it's not a culture that we exist in, so it's hard to kind of put myself in that world. But the weirdness and the bitterness and the rivalry that exists in amongst, Tottenham, Arsenal, and actually Man United, because I guess it's probably because most Man United fans, live on the same street.
I'd hate to support a club in London and live in London, because it just seems like every fucking 2 weeks you got a derby, and that's a stressful fucking thing. A derby, we got 4 of them a year, pretty much. You got 2 with Everton and 2 with Manchester United, and they're horrendous. Yeah. The week before it is fucking horrendous, and if you lose the game the week after, it's fucking horrendous. Yeah. You just got to get a derby every fucking 2 weeks. There's Fulhams, there's Palaces, and they all up the game because it's a fucking London derby.
You can win your derby. You can win the North London derby, and then they bump into the Chelsea fan in the streets, and he's going, "Hey, we're above you in the league." He's like, "Oh, fuck off, mate."
Every time the sun.
Honestly,
you're kidding me. You're fucking horrendous.
It's up. Yeah.
What you want, lads, is a derby that you never lose. Just saying. That's what you kind of want. So honestly,
Arsenal fans remember what that feels like, I suppose. To be fair, but and Chelsea fans to be fair as well. But no, getting back to it. Look, Spurs. No mugs. The form thing is a source of encouragement, but it doesn't give me...
Well, they've had a break as well.
Exactly. And look, within that time, they've also demolished Borussia Dortmund, which shows that, and we've talked about this a lot, Paul Tompkins does some great stuff on this about how, to paraphrase, or to shorten it down, it's how you have to kind of position your eggs in various baskets when you get to the business end of the Champions League. We've seen Liverpool do it. It's cost us so many points in seasons gone by. We know that their squad is doesn't quite possess the depth that us and certainly City have. So you can see how their focus could shift entirely on the Dortmund stuff, and maybe the league is just becoming slightly less priority. I hope that continues. I would prefer to play this game in a week or two's time, when maybe their attentions were focused on Manchester City a little bit more. But
that game in the middle of the 2 City games would have been perfect for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, Palace have got that, but it's a derby, Paul, so the fucked either way.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I hope that I hope that we batter Tottenham everywhere, because I don't really want to have to think about them anymore, to be perfectly honest. We're going to do a bit more on this. We'll do the build-up show. We're filming it. I mean, not that you care if you're listening or watching. We're doing it just after this, but it'll be out on the YouTube channel, I think, Thursday. So get involved with that. Question time then, Chris. Billy Clark. Clarky Bills. Klopp as your dad, Virgil as your husband, or Trent as your son. Only choose one.
Trent is my son.
I've gone with Trent as my son because I feel like the other ones are... You can only really have one dad, and I really like my dad. And you can only marry one person, and I really like my wife. But you can have multiple sons, and it not really impact that. So But
you do love your son.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, the point is I can have...
Just that you'd mentioned it about your dad and your wife, and you didn't.
You can have
sometimes it's not the things that you say, it's the things that you don't say.
Exactly.
Just putting it out there in case Jack ever watches this.
Yeah. Well, if he's intelligent, which he is, he'll understand the meaning of what I was driving at, rather than interrupt.
Oh, hello. So the reason that I didn't go for Klopp as my dad is, I want to get the most out of this fantasy sort of relationship as possible.
Right. So what? Sex partner or something?
No. As fantasy as it's not going to happen.
Oh, right.
Not as a sexual fantasy, Paul, you weirdo. But I'm just not going to have that much time with Klopp as my dad, whereas I'm going to get hopefully a good 40, 50 years of Trent being my son. And the reason that I don't want Virgil is I just, I love my wife, man. I just love my wife.
You just
fine.
Look, you just like,
and I'm not sure I'm enough man for Virgil anyway.
You just like, you love your wife, and look, being gay is fine. Everyone can be gay. It's great. You just love your wife, and Virgil would give you confused feelings. And that
I don't think he would give me confused feelings.
There'd be no confusion. Sorry, Cat, it's over.
Absolutely no confusion, because it would be a one-way relationship. Virgil would love me, but I wouldn't love him back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Poor old mate. I see it. I feel like you're saying those words, but I don't feel there's any truth behind those words.
Listen,
Virgil van Dijk makes me feel feelings that I didn't know I contained.
Virgil van Dijk has put his arm around me and I was safe, shall we say.
How did he smell?
Fantastic, but that's beside the point.
Semi?
No, he's a lad that used to play football with him.
Semi?
Yeah.
Okay.
John Austin used to play for Liverpool.
I'm talking about how hard your penis was.
Ah, right. Generally speaking, soft.
In that particular instance, when Virgil locked it up?
Soft, yeah. It was difficult, though, because, there was a lot of people around.
Performance anxiety?
I think so. Stage fright, some people would call it. It's like when you go to the toilet and you just stood there going, well, I definitely needed a piss.
If nothing
what are
else,
you doing? Is it just because everybody else just stood next to me here, like?
Trent Alexander-Arnold as my son, because, let's face it, that lad's got a very long and prosperous career in the game.
Yeah, and you could siphon some of those funds for yourself. And you'd just be mega
rich for that, wouldn't you? Like, so yeah, I'd take that. And he's a nice lad as well. Shane B. Van Y. Top 3 transfers out, Liverpool, that broke your heart.
Okay, 3-1. Torres to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Your number 3?
I haven't done them in that order.
Give us one of your picks.
Pepe Reina to Bayern Munich.
Oh, okay.
You know why?
No, but you're going to tell me, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I didn't ask, by the way, just for the record.
Who cares?
Apparently not you.
I remember watching him in pre-season over in Boston. He'd come back from his loan to Napoli, and I was thinking, we might get something out of him, having him there in rotation. Let's be honest, he's better than Mignolet, etc., etc. And then we just sold him. Sold to Bayern Munich. I'd go because he would be whether there's a major issues around him. We were paying him far too much money or whatever. But at any point over that spell, I'd have had Pepe Reina back in a heartbeat. I'd still have him back if we weren't convinced. If Mignolet wants to go and we think Karius is a broken human being, Pepe's not going to get out a game for Milan this season. But just to have as a backup goalkeeper and have him around. That's all Spain did. Spain didn't need him to be a useful goalkeeper, and he just won everything with him there. He's the ultimate compere, the ultimate hype man. I was a bit sad when Pepe
on the plane was always something that I wanted. Yeah. He was just fantastic, wasn't he? He was great. He'd be a great mighty red as well, I think. McManaman to Real Madrid.
Oh really?
That
never broke me out because I hated him by the time he left. So it was.
Why did you hate him?
Because he chose. To
That's
leave,
it. That's it. But it ruined football then, because there was a fucking Bosman ruling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, is this the future of what this shit's going to be? And it was a real, like, tipping point for me, where I was like, he was one of my favourite players in the side. He was absolutely fucking superb. And not only that, he's not just fucking gone. He's hanging round, and I know he's going. And that was just a drawn-out process, where it was like 9 months. For fuck's sakes, man.
Yeah, we had that back half of the season of, like, is he putting us all in because he's going
horrible.
And all that. And
horrible.
He was basically our best player.
He was.
And it was, so that was, yeah, it
was horrible.
It's weird. And
that was modern football.
I forget Steve McManaman exists. Like, it's weird. Like that, like, I go back and watch how he was, and when I remember him, great. I don't know what it was. It's weird how, yeah,
some players you just get it for, and some players you just don't get it for.
So, like. Shane proffered this one, but I agree completely. Torres to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Is my next one. That was the final one, to be honest. That was the last time I felt genuinely crestfallen at a footballer leaving. It was because we just got Kenny in, and we had Suarez lined up, and it was like, Suarez and Torres, that's it. That's the forward line to take us back to the top. We just started as well because Torres had been shit that season. And he hasn't looked physically right. He had his injury problems, but he looked like he got a smile back. He was just starting to get more out of him, and then for him to go, and then he did that interview. And I honestly think like he didn't think it never entered his head that Liverpool fans would see the Chelsea TV interview. So we did the big thing about how he joined the top level club, and that was like to Fernando, which is why I did the parody video of him when I absolutely fucking slaughtered him like at the time. But yeah, no, that did break my heart.
And the one that hurt the most of all of them,
Fowler to Leeds.
Well, be Fowler to Leeds.
Yeah, completely agree on that. That was never been more than that, you know. And I'm sure there'll be people of a younger generation for whom Torres will be that for them. But I know maybe Michael Owen or whatever, but. Fowler, for a young lad in and around our age group, growing up in Liverpool, Fowler was it, wasn't he? The icon, the player we all wanted to be, the one we all related to the most. He was living the dream. And Gerrard will be again for a slightly younger generation, and we had Gerrard in that regard. But it's hard to imagine that lad who's when we were like 11, 12, 13, growing up as he was just starting to really find his footing, and the talk to terror, that being the best centre forward, the best natural finisher in the game, and he was ours. So when he left was fucking horrendous. But he could.
And the fact that I was in fucking Leeds and I come out the train station and there's the club shop with Fowler 11 on the back, and I was just like, I just want to go home, man.
Yeah,
just want to go home. You've done me in.
Yeah, it was 27, but that's fine.
No, 11 was how much they signed him for. That's why they had that in the window.
Sound. Okay. Let us know yours in the comment section underneath the top 3 transfers out that broke your heart. And we've got loads of questions coming up on the bonus Q&A over on the redmentv.com. This podcast continues. So if you want more from us, we've got questions from LFC family. Talking about the Anfield extension and what we know or don't know about that. If we're trapped on a top floor of a building and ninjas are on their way to attack us, what Liverpool player, current or ex, and football-related weapon we want to fight them off. Who we have to put in goal with the last kick of the game if we need to throw an outfield player in goal in the last game of the season. And a whole host of other things. I think we both know the answers to that. And the opinion on plain crisps. Get over to redmentv.com. Sign up, start your free. Not here, not now. I'll get your 3-month trial. Start that. And as again, one more plug, get over and check out our brand new YouTube channel, Major Payjack, over there on the YouTube. It's completely free and all that stuff. Get subscribed. Chris wants 1,000 subscribers before we put the first video out. Go and make that happen. If you like us, do it. If you don't like us, don't do it. We don't want you over there, honestly. What's the point? What would be the point? Like all those fucking people who subscribe to KSI will think he's a Bellend or Logan Paul. Just don't subscribe. Don't subscribe.
Then Logan Paul would have no subscribers, Paul.
It's good. Well, there you go. Brilliant. I'd rather have people who give a fuck than not. So yeah, we'll see it over at any number of those places. Other than that, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris.
And you, Paul.
Thank you very much for watching and for listening. Walk on.